Hello, I'm here with my monthly look at the previews catalog from Diamond Distribution. This is for October 2024. Also have the little DC catalog. They're distributed through Lunar, but we'll keep it simple. For some reason this month I did not have an IDW catalog included with the previews. Not that I think that thing's necessary, but it's the first time in a few months I haven't gotten one. So no idea if they've just discontinued it or if my shop just didn't have me one. Not really sure. All right, we'll get to it. So from the Marvel catalog, not much of interest for me, but as I often point out, the omnibus selections. Well, first, the Silver Surfer omnibus. This is from the launch of the series in the late 80s, 87. I have some fondness for this era of Silver Surfer. Marshall Rogers art, which then later became Ron Lim was the artist. I loved Ron Lim when I was 13. Religiously read Captain America and Silver Surfer. Loved his art very much. Don't know how well those comics hold up, so not necessarily recommending them. Certainly not recommending spending $150 on them. This one I thought might be of interest to some people. Fantastic Four Doom 2099 Omnibus. I read the first few issues of Doom 2099. I tried all of the 2099 titles when they first came out. Dropped off almost immediately. But I know that near the end of the run, Warren Ellis was the writer. That's pretty early Warren Ellis for American audiences. And a lot of people like that run. I'm trying to remember who the art was. I'm not sure. A lot of great names worked on this book, though. Pat Broderick, Ernie Colon, Enrique Alcatena, Steve Pugh, Mark Buckingham, John Buscema, Rick Leonardi. Yeah, that's a pretty damn good lineup. Writers: John Francis Moore, Ernie Colon, Peter David, Warren Ellis, Tom DeFalco, Carl Kessel. So, some names, kind of mixed in there with a few names. Haven't ever read the Warren Ellis material, so once again, I can't testify to its quality, but thought I'd mention it. From DC. So they've been doing these DC Compact Comics Edition, which they've been wildly overpraised for. They've clearly moved through the top tier material already. Watchmen, Kingdom Come, whatever else. So now but this month there's 4 options. Deceased, written by Tom Taylor, art by Trevor Hairsine. Never read it. Not particularly interested. Static, season 1, written by Vida Ayala, art by Nicholas Draper Ivy. Never heard of either one of those people. Never seen any of the Static reboots. Superman Birthright, written by Mark Waid, art by Jerry Alanguilan. I think I have read this, though I think it's been a very, very long time. Generally like Mark Waid enough. And Batwoman Elegy, written by Greg Rucka, art by J.H. Williams III. I'm not sure how much of the material is here. 240 pages. So maybe that's 2 of the previous trade paperbacks that were released of the Batwoman stuff. J.H. Williams III is the only real draw for me. I can run mid to cold on Rucka, but J.H. Williams III is pretty great. Also, they've been doing these DC Finest, which are sort of big, thick trades. These are all 544 pages, 624 pages. So pretty hefty. They have Doom Patrol, which is the early Silver Age Doom Patrol, which are pretty well-regarded comics, written by Arnold Drake, primarily, also Bob Haney. Art by Bruno Premiani, primarily, and then Bob Brown, Dick Giordano, and others. But the Drake and Premiani stuff is generally held in pretty high regard. Yeah, they're pretty entertaining comics, actually. And it's nice to get them in another format. They were released... I'm not sure if they ever had a big omnibus edition. They might have. They were released as DC Archives many years ago. But even if you can find those at a decent price, it would still add up to a lot of money. I'm not sure if this is a complete collection or not. This might just be, half of the material. Probably more than half. Also, Green Arrow, The Longbow Hunters, because they're making a big book, it isn't just the 3-issue Green Arrow Longbow Hunters. It's also the first 8 issues of Green Arrow Annual 1, Detective Comics Annual 1, and then a few Question issues. There was a crossover between Batman, Green Arrow, and the Question, which at the time were DC sort of hard-hitting urban characters. I read the entire run of Green Arrow by Mike Grell a few years ago, and while I would not say it was good, I would say I very much enjoyed it, if that makes sense. So I don't know that I would spend $40 on a trade paperback. I probably would not, but there's worse shit you could spend your money on. Also, Teen Titans, The Judas Contract. So this has quite a bit more than just the Judas Contract, which is a couple hundred pages at most. Seems like it has kind of other stuff around it. Anyway, pretty fun comics. I have to imagine anyone who's remotely interested in superheroes and is of a certain age has probably read the Judas Contract. But I enjoyed it when I was a teenager. Still think fondly of it. All right. Oh, also one more thing before I toss it aside. I guess 2 more things. One, a trade collecting the entire run of Grant Morrison and Mark Miller's Flash run. I don't know if these are any good. In fact, I would venture to guess they're probably not that great. But having it all together in one run is pretty fun. Overpriced, $50 for a trade, kind of ridiculous. But if you're a Morrison guy, there you go. And thought I'd also point out Milestone Compendium 4. I don't know how many of those they're going to put out. I mean, this one's 1,300 pages, so each one is got quite a bit of material in it. But Milestone, interesting experiment. I was talking to one of the Canon writers. Canon is a comic zine that I work on. One of the Canon writers is very interested in Milestone. He and I were talking about this attempt. Anyway, don't know how the comics hold up particularly, but I'm surprised DC's been this committed to reprinting them. So, once again, thought it was worth mentioning. Getting into the real catalog. From Image Comics. G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, Volume 2. This is the Larry Hama never-ending story. Collects issues 306 through 310. A pretty astounding run. Not going to say they're all great comics, because I don't think they are, but astounding that he's written over 300 issues of this continuity. I think in the Marvel run there was one guest issue. Otherwise, I believe it's been all Larry Hama, and that doesn't even include spin-offs and miniseries and relaunches at other companies. So he's written a shitload of G.I. Joe comics. Series I've mentioned the last couple months, I think. Free Agents number 6, written by Kurt Busiek and Fabian Nicieza, art by Stephen Mooney. I've only read the first issue, so I can't say if it's still good or not, but I enjoyed the first issue enough to stick with it for a little bit. Kurt Busiek has earned that from me. Also thought I'd mention Packless number 9 by Dustin Weaver. I have not read most of these, but I'm intrigued that this is still happening. It's 56 pages, and it's a one-man anthology coming out from Image. Kind of an odd creature. Anyway, I would love to see more of this kind of thing, though I think there's only so many people who could really pull it off. From Dark Horse, alright, The Beasts of Burden Omnibus, trade paperback. This thing is almost 600 pages, $30. That's a pretty good deal. I have not read all of the Beasts of Burden material. I think I read the first mini-series and maybe the second. It's been a while. But written by Evan Dorkin, art by Jill Thompson, and then when she drops off, Benjamin Dewey takes over. Pretty fun material. Evan Dorkin, I think, is he's just one of my guys I can't keep track of. But I also kind of think he's just underrated across the board. And I would love for him to get more opportunities to do this kind of work. That is to say, his non-very Evan Dorkin work, which I like the most. But I'd like to see him be able to stretch a little bit and do some other stuff. Also in here, Den Volume 5, The Price of Memories. This is a resolicit from September of 24, so from last month already. Not really sure what they're doing. They've put a couple out recently, so clearly they're kind of getting on track, but not really sure why they're even soliciting these things before they have them ready to go. Be real curious to know how many volumes they're planning on putting out of Corbin's material from Dark Horse. There is non-Den stuff, of course, so are they going to do all of it? Is it dependent on sales? No idea. But the books are beautiful, if a little pricey, but they've done a hell of a good job on them. Gunsmith Cats Omnibus, Volume 1 by Kenichi Sonoda. I haven't read much Gunsmith Cats. I read some of the Dark Horse reprints from, I'd say those are from the 90s. I thought they were pretty fun, but can't say I have much of a memory of them. Anyway, it's always a series that I've remembered as being one of the kind of early translations over here. I think in the 90s, Dark Horse did quite a bit of them. So kind of interesting that they've got a new reprint going, a new omnibus series. 616 pages. Pretty hefty. Not sure how much material there is. With manga, I'm often completely at a loss to figure that stuff out. Kind of wish they would include it in the solicit, but at the same time I know why they don't, because if they said volume 1 of 19, a lot of people would probably just pass. I mentioned this last month, even though it's not something I ordered, but I thought I'd mention it again, because if I ever come across these in a used bookstore or something, I will probably go for them. I, Dragon by Juan Jimenez, book 3 of 3. Just did not make my cut last month of things I was going to go for, but kind of halfway regret it already, and wish I was getting these. Jimenez is a fantastic artist. Yeah, even if the writing is god-awful, it's probably pretty fun stuff. So anyway, from Alien Books, who also has Nexus and has the Valiant stuff. No idea who's behind Alien Books, but maybe they'll put out some things that are of interest in the future, since I couldn't care less about modern day Valiant. Black Panel Press. I thought I'd mention this. Al Capone. I probably mentioned it whenever it was originally released, quite a while ago. I didn't buy it, but I saw it in a store a while back and thought, that looks pretty nice. So once again, the sort of thing, if I found it at a used bookstore, I might pick it up, but passed on it. But the reason I didn't order it was because I hadn't seen what it looked like other than the cover. But also this month, new, they have this book, Wretched, written by Henrik Rare, art by Jan Solheim. So Henrik Rare is a cartoonist I'm aware of. I did a video once about his series Tuesday, which was about the basically living in Brooklyn during the World Trade Center attacks on 9/11. Which is an okay little book, but interesting. He's been working for a really long time, and I believe he is Norwegian or Danish. Yeah, I'm spacing on it. Oh, Danish. Okay, he's Danish. So he has had a ton of work in Denmark in Danish, but he's lived here, I think, since the 90s. And so he's had a good amount of work done here, too. He's did a comic strip for a long time. Might still be doing it for all I know. So anyway, I know him more as an artist, and here he is writing. No idea who Jan Solheim is. But yeah, I might check this out. Just to see what it's like. It was interesting to see Henrik Rare's name there. There's a podcast called Blockhead. I think it's called Blockhead or Blockheads. And the guy who does that podcast did a 2-part interview with Henrik Rare, several hours worth. And I really enjoyed it. Thought it was pretty good. He was an interesting guy. I knew nothing about him going into that either. So, anyway, a lot of time spent on Henrik Rare there. A guy I still don't know much about. From Cosmic Lion Productions, Termite Mound number 2 of 3. Written and drawn by Matt Howarth, one of the great independent cartoonists, certainly of the 80s and 90s, and still going. So, first issue hasn't come out yet, but I'm excited to see it. He is a singular talent, that is for sure. From Drawn and Quarterly, The Legend of Kamui, Volume 1, by Shirato Sanpei. I think I'd heard that this was coming, but it still surprised me when I saw it. Now this says, at long last, his groundbreaking epic makes its way into English. If I'm not mistaken, this series was translated and published by Eclipse back in the 80s. So not sure if it's the same material. Hopefully there's someone watching this will get in the comments and tell me that that's the case or it's not the case. Those Eclipse reprints are done at regular comic size and look fantastic. This is done manga size, 600 pages, so we're getting a big chunk. And once again, not sure how many volumes we're talking about. I have the full Eclipse run, so I'm wary about getting this until I know that it's something different. But anyway, also a little surprising just because it is genre material compared to the manga they've been publishing. Not that they haven't published any genre manga, but not usually what they're about. From our friends at Fantagraphics, Love and Rockets, Volume 4, number 16. by Gilbert and Jaime Hernandez. They continue to make comics and churn out brilliant comics 40 years later. It's pretty amazing. Not much else to say about it. There's several different ways to read Love and Rockets, but obviously this supports their work in a direct way as they're working on it. Caravaggio, The Palette and the Sword, Volume 1 by Milo Manara. Very cool that Fantagraphics has Manara's work now. The Milo Manara Signature Edition. It's a new series from Fantagraphics featuring affordable paperbacks of Manara's internationally acclaimed work. So Dark Horse did a complete, quote-unquote, complete set of Manara's work at least a decade ago, right? Maybe probably more. So I don't know quite what they're going to publish, and I'm not sure if they're going to do more stuff or dip into some of the stuff that was printed in that complete run by Dark Horse. Of course, all those Dark Horse books are out of print. I guess I don't know if they're all out of print, but I think they probably are. Certainly the erotic stuff. They published 3 volumes of erotic work, though all of Manara's work kind of qualifies as erotic. But those went out of print the second they came into print, and are expensive and hard to get a hold of. So, looking forward to this. This is only 64 pages, but it is 9.25 by 12.25, so it's going to be a nice big book. I'm sure it will be lovingly presented. Pocket Full of Rain Expanded Edition by Jason. So this, let's see what it says here. This collection showcases 3 distinct styles: the artist's earlier realistic drawing style, the intermediate big head cartoony style, and the funny animal style he's now best known for. This new and expanded edition also includes all the images from the limited Swedish edition of Pop, a collection of Jason's wildly ingenious and graphically pixelated single-page pop culture homages. So, I don't know. That might be enough to get me to double dip. I'm more or less a Jason completist. I've been buying his books since the first one Fantagraphics published, Hey Wait. So yeah, if there's something of note in there, but I'll wait to see it in person. I'll go ahead and point out that they're also reprinting this book, Life Sucks, written by Jessica Abel and Gabe Soria, illustrated by Warren Pleece. This was originally published, I think, by First Second in 2008. And Fanta is reprinting it. They've had a relationship with Jessica Abel for a very, very long time. Never read it, so I can't say anything about it. It is a YA vampire book. Jessica Abel's not one of my favorites, personally. But yeah, thought it was worth noting. Damned by Eric Haven. It is a regular comic book. We've seen quite a few of those from Fanta lately. A 24-page comic. Eric Haven has this sort of stilted style. They're kind of calling his comics delightfully demented. I'd say that's probably about right. I don't know, people seem to run hot or cold on Eric Haven. I'm on the colder side personally, but I still find his work appealing, and I will probably check this out when it comes out. Prince Valiant, Volume 29, 1993 to 1994, by Hal Foster, John Cullen Murphy, and Cullen Murphy. I don't know. I'm not really sure where they're at with this stuff. Really curious to know how much longer these collections are going to go on for. I don't know. 29 volumes of this material is incredible, though. And they are gorgeous books. So, recommended on that level, if nothing else. From Flesk Publications, ElfQuest covers, 1978 to 2022. Available as a softcover or a hardcover. 656 pages. 8 by 11. Have to admit, I'm tempted by this one. I'm a big fan of Wendy Pini's art. Do have a soft spot for the early ElfQuest material. So, pretty interesting. Flesk is an interesting publisher as well. They have published a lot of things I've been interested in and often find them to be overpriced or maybe just not quite interesting enough for me, but maybe so. You can also get the covers in 2 smaller books. These are 4x5 books, 300 plus pages a piece. Breaks them up into 78 to 94 and 93 to 2022. So I'm guessing, little this-sized books. Yeah, not how I would choose to buy them, but it is cheaper to buy the 2 books than it is to buy the one fancier book. Okay, from Floating World, Bozzelli Collected Works Volume 3. I have still not read the first volume, so can't recommend it necessarily, though the work does look great. A friend of mine really enjoyed the first book. And Floating World, I think, has done a really great job on them. I believe this is the last book, but I could be wrong. Okay, yeah, this final volume. Okay, so 3 volumes of Bozzelli's collected works published by Floating World. Nice, ambitious project for them, and I'm glad they were able to see it through. From Graffiti Designs, Brian Boland, Batman the Killing Joke, and so much more. I could have sworn this was already solicited, but I didn't bother to look back. What does this have in it? It has the Killing Joke. Has An Innocent Guy from Black and White number 4. A few other stories. A Batman number 400 story. Justice League of America number 200 story. So it's got a random hodgepodge of stuff. Gets it up to 280 pages, which is pretty hefty. 13 by 20, which is a nice big size. Retail price, $225. Jesus Christ. That takes your breath away. I would love to have this book, but I don't know that I would pop for that. Also, a new digital gallery section showcasing Boland's work using computers. Not really too interested in that, even though I still love Boland's digital work. I don't know. No, thank you. I think I have a book of Boland covers at DC Publish. That's good enough for the digital stuff. I'm really just interested in the original art scans. But even that said, at that price, I don't know if I could possibly justify it. Thought I'd mention this because it's going to probably be the best-selling book in this catalog. Even though most of the people watching this video, including me, won't read it. Dogman Volume 13, Big Jim Begins by Dave Pilkey. This guy's essentially the best-selling cartoonist in the English language. And yet, the Wednesday Warrior types or the comic snob types, we don't pay any attention to this stuff. So, but I thought worth mentioning. Now, no comment on whether the books are good or bad. I've never read any of the work. So, but kids obviously love it. He'll sell a shitload of copies of these. And I guess I have no idea how much of the work he's still doing. I have no reason to believe he isn't doing it, but if he is still doing it, kudos to him for sticking with comics and doing these books. I'm sure he doesn't really need to anymore. From Holiday House, publisher I'm not particularly familiar with, Mendel the Mess Up. So this is a graphic novel for kids. The reason I'm mentioning it is because it's by Terry Laban, who did comics for Fantagraphics in the late 80s, early 90s. And for a while there, he may still have a comic strip called Stone Soup. No, Stone Soup's somebody else. I don't remember what the hell his strip's called. Anyway, he had a regular strip in the newspaper. He has a pleasing style. He was sort of a lower tier alternative cartoonist, but thought it was worth mentioning. Anytime those guys show up, I feel like it's worth pointing it out. Amazing that anyone can keep a career in comics going. These books, at least a couple of these books, have already appeared from Magnetic. These are graphic novel adaptations, I believe that's what they are, of classic novels by Georges Besse. Dracula and Frankenstein, I believe, already came out. Yes, they're award winners. They won Eisners. And here's A Hunchback of Notre Dame. I haven't seen these books. I love what I see here, and I've heard they're amazing looking. I have no idea if they're any good or not, but I'm definitely intrigued by them. I'd love to come across them in a store somewhere so I could judge for myself. Love the size, 9 by 12, 9 by 11. Pretty slim. Well, actually, no, they're all over 200 pages, so fairly hefty books. Hefty prices too, though. They're all $35, which is why I did not take a chance on one of them. I didn't want to get some book that's just a bunch of illustrations along with text, even though they are referred to as graphic novels. So, anyway, would love to see them. Yeah. The Frankenstein says, reproducing Georges' unprocessed illustration boards on uncoated wood-free paper. These artist edition books will capture the tactile details of his work as if holding the original boards. That's very intriguing to me now. So, yeah, anyway, anyone out there has any comments on these books, please let me know. From Manuscript Press, the company that seems to be only designated to Alley-Oop reprints. This is offered again, but I really don't remember seeing it. The Complete Sundays, Volume 4, 1942 to 1944, World War II. Dark Horse published the first 2 volumes of Complete Sundays, and then Manuscript published Volume 3, which I have. Did not remember Volume 4 being solicited. These are beautiful books, though. Prime cartooning era for Alley-Oop. V.T. Hamlin was really in his prime at the time. Good stuff. All right. From Oni, company I don't mention too often, but occasionally. Kaiju Max Complete Collection Volume 1. Looks like this print presents the first 2 miniseries of Kaiju Max by Zander Cannon into one book. This is pretty fun material. I'm kind of amazed that it's had the life it's had, that it's, I want to say this is the 3rd version these books have appeared in. They appeared in trades and I think oversized hardcovers, so kind of surprising to me. Zander Cannon's a really fun cartoonist, though, and if big monsters are your thing. And I'm mistaken. This is the first 3 volumes. So I believe there would be one more after this, because I think there were 6 series total. Anyway, Zander Cannon, fun cartoonist, guy I've been kind of tracking for a few decades now, since his comic The Replacement God back in the 90s. Always happy to see his name show up. A publisher I've never bought from, PS Art Books. Though they often have interesting stuff. And recently my friend Ray had I think his monthly haul video. He picked up one of these books devoted to Basil Wolverton's Space Hawk. He seemed pretty happy with the book. I'm going to point this one out here, Silver Age Classics, The Mysterious Traveler, Softy, Volume 2. Bill Molno and various. But, yeah, the only reason I'm really mentioning this is because of The Traveler was created by Steve Ditko. Not sure if Ditko has any actual work in this book, but figured I would mention it. I'm guessing maybe he doesn't, since he's not listed up in the top credits. And he would certainly be a bigger draw than Bill Molno. No offense to Mr. Molno. I mean, this Kid Eternity book, writer Otto Bender, art by Sheldon Moldoff. I mean, that sounds pretty great to me. Yeah, Reed Crandall. I mean, they published some interesting books, though I'm not a huge fan of their presentation or, frankly, their prices, which are a little hefty. But anyway, I'm always intrigued by them. I've seen some of them on Remainder at various bookstores, but it always seems to be the ones I don't have much interest in, unfortunately. It's just how it works sometimes. From Rebellion, 2000 AD, here's a book I am excited about. Button Man by Arthur Ranson, Apex Edition hardcover. 10 by 14, 192 page hardcover. It's an artist edition. The Apex editions that Rebellion has put out have all looked fantastic, the ones I've seen. And I love Arthur Ranson's work, especially on Button Man, which is a really fun series. Yeah, if you have a chance to read Button Man in any format, I would suggest it. But this is something I would definitely like to get. A really big fan of his work on this series. Really wonderful artist. Also, the Stainless Steel Rat color omnibus. Looks like it's the whole adaptation, the 2000 AD adaptation of Harry Harrison's classic science fiction novels by Kelvin Gosnell, and more importantly, Carlos Ezquerra, one of the great 2000 AD artists. Full color, 208 pages, 8 by 11. I bet it'd be a very fun read. Not sure I'll do it, but still looks very fun. From publisher Shift Presents, which I'm not sure if this is just a Simon Furman company at this point. They've put out a couple Simon Furman books, and this is another Simon Furman book. 5 Points, written by Simon Furman, art by Martin Stiff, who's a British artist of some reputation. Crime noir meets supernatural thriller in this moody and compelling original graphic novel from the aforementioned gentleman. Anyone who's listened to me ramble on in these videos over the years knows that I have a very soft spot for Simon Furman, who wrote Transformers for many years for Marvel and Marvel UK. Probably not a defensible position, but here we are. Jumping ahead to manga, there were 2 books of note to me this month, though I fully admit I'm probably missing something. Fist of the North Star, Volume 15. I believe that's out of 18 total. Shout out to my friend Ray again, who keeps telling me that. So we are nearing the conclusion. Yeah, really, really nicely done hardcover books. Really beautiful stuff. And the other one is a book I don't really know anything about, but I'm intrigued by the solicitation. If I can find the damn thing. This is published by Vertical. Ashita no Joe, Fighting for Tomorrow, Volume 1. Written by Asao Takamori. Art is by Tetsuya Chiba. Claims that it's one of the most important manga of all time, and it will finally see the light of day in English for the first time. Yeah, don't really know anything about it. Sounds like it's a fighting manga, which sounds fun. Not even sure when it originally appeared, and I really wish they would make this sort of thing explicit when they're soliciting these. If you're trying to say something's a classic and an all-timer, you should give us at least a sentence of context of, it appeared in 1967, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I know I can Google this shit, but come on, you're trying to sell to retailers who don't have any time. Like, give them some information. It's a hardcover, 580 pages, $60, which is pretty damn hefty. Not sure how big it is either, which would be a nice thing to include, what the measurements are. For that price, you would think they're printing a bigger size than standard manga size. That Kamui book I mentioned earlier from Drawn Quarterly is 600 pages for $30. It's standard manga, paperback sized. So, hopefully they're giving a nicer presentation. But I'm definitely intrigued. I'll try to do a little more research into it. Once again, anybody watching this thing, if you have something to say about Ashito no Joe, let me know. Is this something worth looking at or not? Who knows? Okay, that's it for this month. Decent amount of stuff. Not tons of must-buys by any means, but at least some interesting material. As usual, if you have any thoughts, questions, concerns, complaints, drop them in the comments. Talk to you guys later.